Move your wrinkled self, old man. This isn't bingo night. Danny Rohr's voice cut through the blue rail bar like a knife. Elias Whitaker didn't look up. He sat alone at the corner, quiet and calm, his navy sweater neat against the bar's dim lights. To the gang of loud young men, he looked weak, an old man they could mock to feel powerful. They didn't see the discipline behind his stillness, the patience of a retired karate instructor who'd spent decades teaching control and respect. Danny swaggered forward. Flanked by his friends, Switch and Ox, the jukebox went silent. Conversations froze. Everyone knew when Danny looked at someone like that, trouble was coming. Evening, old-timer. Danny sneered, leaning on the bar. Ain't it past your bedtime? Elias calmly lifted his ginger ale and took a sip, saying nothing. That silence made Danny's smirk falter. Then Switch accidentally bumped Elias's glass. It didn't spill, but the mockery grew. Danny laughed, lifted his beer, and slowly poured it over Elias's head. The bar went silent, only the dripping sound of beer hitting the floor. Grace Varial, the bartender, froze behind the counter. Her hand slipped into her pocket and secretly hit record on her phone. Elias didn't move. He simply folded a towel, wiped his face carefully, and said softly, "You should apologize." The laughter stopped. The jukebox's hum filled the silence. Danny's face twisted. "You want me to what?" he mocked. Elias's eyes didn't waver. "I said, you should apologize." Danny shoved him hard, but Elias shifted slightly, making him stumble forward. Before the gang could react, Ox's heavy hand grabbed Elias's shoulder. In one smooth motion, Elias turned, caught the wrist, and twisted just enough to drop the big man to his knees. Switch charged with a knife, but Elias's legs swept out in a perfect arc, sending him crashing to the floor. Gasps filled the bar. No one had ever seen anything like it. The old man stood calm and dignified, not angry, just in control. Danny laughed nervously, trying to save face. "No hard feelings, Professor," he said loudly, pretending peace while rage simmered behind his grin. Elias didn't respond. He stood, adjusted his sweater, and left the bar. Outside, snow fell under the yellow glow of the streetlights. Elias's walk was steady, his face calm. But behind him, through the bar window, Danny watched with hatred burning in his eyes. Minutes later, in the alley, they jumped him. Ox's fist slammed into Elias's ribs. Switch held him from behind as Danny stepped out of the shadows. "Still think you're tough, old man?" he hissed, but training took over. Elias dropped his weight, freed himself, and struck with quiet precision, redirecting their force. Not attacking, just defending. When Danny lunged again, Elias countered perfectly, pinning him against the wall. "You could have walked away," Elias said softly. Then came sirens. Chief Nolan stepped out of the patrol car with a knowing smile. "Evening, Danny," he said, as if greeting an old friend. Minutes later, Elias was in handcuffs. Grace ran out yelling, "I have it all on video." Nolan took her phone, promising evidence handling, then pocketed it. Elias spent the night in a cell, bruised and sore, sitting straight-backed. In the morning, his daughter Mara came to get him, still in her nurse's scrubs. "Bar fights, Dad. At your age," she said, disappointed. Elias tried to explain, but she didn't want to hear it. Years of distance hung between them, the dojo, the missed dinners, the father who'd spent more time teaching other people's kids than his own. Later that day, Mrs. Geneva Parks, the church elder, stopped him on the street. "Don't you let them silence you, son," she said, gripping his hand. "They count on our silence. Don't give it to them." That night, Grace came to his house. Her hands shook as she handed him a small flash drive. "I backed up everything before Nolan took my phone," she said. "The beer, the fight, the ambush, all of it." Elias warned her it could get her hurt. She only nodded. "Being invisible means you see everything. Someone has to tell the truth." Across town, Officer Miles Chen, one of Elias's former karate students, reviewed police body cam footage. Something didn't add up. The timestamps were wrong. Calls were too fast, as if Nolan had known where to be. Miles started digging, finding city contracts showing Danny's security company getting big payouts right after their incidents soon. Grace, Miles, Mara, and Geneva gathered in Elias's kitchen. They planned carefully, gathering evidence, uploading files, and preparing to expose the corruption. They knew danger was coming. They just didn't know how soon. That night, Grace's car exploded outside her apartment. Flames lit the street as she clutched her backup tablet. Elias rushed to her side. "They won't stop," she whispered. "No," he said quietly. "But neither will we." The next morning, men in ski masks attacked Elias outside his house. Even injured, he fought back, calm, efficient, refusing to give in. Neighbors caught it on video. The truth was spreading faster than fear. Days later, in Geneva's church hall, Elias taught a self-defense class to the townspeople, elderly women, teenagers, parents, even Pastor Williams. "The first rule of defense," Elias said, "is knowing you deserve to be safe." Laughter and courage filled the room. For the first time, people weren't afraid. Grace and Miles revealed they'd gathered all the evidence. The next step was public. "We finished this in daylight," Elias said. Saturday night came. The blue rail was packed, cameras hidden everywhere, the whole town watching. At 9 sharp, Elias walked in, calm as ever. "I'm looking for Danny Rohr," he said. Danny appeared moments later, smirking. "You came back for round 2, old man?" "I came to give you a choice," Elias said. "Apologize for what you've done, or show everyone who you really are." Danny laughed, playing to the crowd. "Apologize? You think you're better than me?" Grace hit a button under the counter. Screens across town lit up with live footage, the bar humiliation, the alley attack, the truth. Danny's smirk vanished. Phones were recording. His world was collapsing in real time. He lunged, shouting, swinging wildly. Elias moved with precision, blocking, deflecting, never striking in anger. The crowd stepped back as Danny's rage exploded. Ox and Switch tried to jump in, but Elias's control turned their strength against them. Within seconds, both were on the ground. The crowd roared. Elias stepped into the alley, where the first ambush had happened. "Now everyone sees who you are," he said. Danny lunged again, and found himself face down on the hood of his own SUV, pinned but unharmed. "Stop fighting," Elias said quietly. "It's over." From the shadows, Officer Miles emerged, this time in uniform, flanked by 2 state investigators. "We've been watching for weeks," Agent Torres said, "and tonight's live stream gave us everything we needed." Chief Nolan pushed through the crowd, shouting for Elias's arrest, but Torres cut him off. "No, Chief, you're the one under investigation." The alley filled with sirens and flashing lights. Grace's camera captured every second. Danny and his men were led away in handcuffs. The people of the town cheered, their voices echoing through the cold night. A week later, headlines covered Elias's table. "Local man's viral video exposes townwide corruption." Councilman Hale, Nolan, Danny, all under investigation. Mara smiled proudly as she poured her father coffee. "They're calling you a dignified warrior," she said. Elias only shook his head. "I just did what was right." Months later, the blue rail reopened under new ownership. The dark bar that once reeked of fear now shone with warm light and laughter. A wooden sign above the door read, "Respect lives here." Elias sat quietly at the bar, sipping his ginger ale in the same seat where it all began. Around him, people smiled and talked freely. Grace filmed the reopening for the local news. Mara joined her father, looking around with quiet pride. "The town feels different," she said. "People look each other in the eye now." Elias nodded. The town had changed, not because of one fight, but because one man refused to stay silent. He stood, straightened his navy sweater, and glanced toward the door. "Time for class," he said. Together, he and Mara walked to St. Elijah's Community Hall, where he now taught self-defense for seniors. The same calm voice, the same gentle strength, still teaching that dignity is the most powerful defense of all.